Hello everyone. Today we're going to study about the Temperate Continental or Steppe Climate. And this topic matters because it connects climate to vegetation, agriculture, trade, and even global food supply. We'll begin with where these regions are found, then compare how this climate behaves differently in the two hemispheres, then move into winds like the Chinook, the grassland vegetation pattern, and finally, the economic transformation that turned these treeless plains into the granaries of the world. If you understand this as a chain, location, climate, vegetation, economy, the chapter becomes easy to retain. Start with location. These regions lie in the interiors of continents, far from the sea, often next to deserts or semi-arid zones. That is why the major grassland belts appear as interior heartlands. Prairies in North America, pampas in South America, pushta in Hungary, steppes across Eurasia, veld in South Africa, and downs in Australia. You should not learn these as scattered names. Learn them as one global pattern: large continental interiors with reduced maritime influence. Here's a mnemonic for you to remember: PPPSVD. Prairies, pampas, pushta, steppes, veld, downs. Now understand why the same climate type behaves differently across the two hemispheres. In the northern hemisphere, the land masses are huge. That means places deep inside continents stay remote from maritime influence. Oceans cannot moderate the temperature effectively. The result is a strongly continental climate. Very hot summers, very cold winters, and a high annual temperature range. In the southern hemisphere, things are different. The land belts are narrower and surrounded more strongly by oceans and warm currents. That creates a more maritime effect, so temperature extremes are moderated. This is the big contrast. North is extreme, south is moderate. If you miss that contrast, you miss the logic of the entire chapter. Now focus on the northern hemisphere extreme. Here, summers can rise to around 25 degrees Celsius. And this is also when most rainfall occurs, often in the form of convectional rain. Convectional rain means the land heats strongly. Warm air rises, cools, condenses, and produces rainfall. Winters, on the other hand, can fall to around minus 20 degrees Celsius and become severely freezing. And here's something many aspirants miss. Even though this is broadly a dry climate, winter precipitation can still occur as snow, especially due to westerly depressions. So do not oversimplify dry climate as no winter precipitation. That is exactly where careless answers lose marks. Now move to the southern hemisphere moderate version of this climate. Here, the ocean behaves like a thermostat. Because the land masses are narrower and ocean currents are more influential, the annual temperature range stays low. Summer stays around 20 degrees Celsius, warm but not extreme. Winter stays around 10 degrees Celsius, mild and never severe compared to the north. Rainfall is also generally above 50 centimeters, and that is higher than the northern interior steppe belts. So if the north teaches you continentality, the south teaches you maritime moderation. That single comparison is worth carrying into every answer. Now, one important local wind, the Chinook, often called the snow eater. This wind blows along the eastern slopes of the Rockies in the USA and Canada. It is a phone-type hot, dry wind. The mechanism is simple. Air rises on one side of the mountain, loses moisture, and then descends on the leeward side as a warmer, drier wind. Its impact is huge. It melts snow quickly and makes winter grazing possible over the eastern plains, especially the prairies. This is a strong example of how a local wind can directly shape economic life. Now look at the vegetation. This climate is often called a treeless sea, and that phrase is not poetic, it is geographic. Trees generally cannot survive here because of long droughts and severe winters. Grass survives by going dormant and then reviving when moisture returns. And rainfall controls grass height. Where rainfall is below 50 centimeters, you get short steppe grass, typical of Asia, and strongly continental interiors. Where rainfall is above 50 centimeters, you get long prairie grass, especially in North America and also in the Black Earth belt of Ukraine. This is a classic climate-vegetation relationship. More rainfall, taller grass. Less rainfall, shorter grass. Now we come to why these regions became globally important. These grasslands turned into the granaries of the world. Countries like the USA, Canada, Ukraine, and Argentina became major grain exporters. But here's something you need to be careful about. Do not confuse yield per acre with yield per man. These are areas of extensive farming, very large farms with less attention per unit area. So yield per acre is relatively low. But because farming is heavily mechanized, yield per man is very high. That is the efficiency paradox of these regions. Mechanization changes the economics completely. Now the second economic shift, the pastoral revolution. These grasslands were not only cereal zones, they also became major ranching zones. Traditional tuft grass was increasingly replaced by nutritious fodder like lucerne and alfalfa. That improved livestock quality and output. Then came the real breakthrough: refrigerated transport. Once refrigeration became reliable, meat and animal products could be traded globally. And that created regional specialization. The Pampas became strongly associated with beef. The Downs of Australia became famous for wool, with Australia emerging as a leading exporter. This is the point where climate geography becomes economic geography. Now consolidate the whole comparison. In the north, prairies and steppes, the climate is strongly continental. Temperature range is high, with hot summers and very cold winters. Rainfall stays around 50 centimeters, often with a summer maximum. And the dominant economic image is wheat, which is why these regions became granaries. In the south, Pampas, Downs, and Veldt, the climate is more maritime. Temperature range is lower, with warm summers and mild winters. Rainfall is generally above 50 centimeters, more uniform and less harsh. And the economy leans much more toward wool and beef. If you can hold this north versus south contrast in one frame, continental versus maritime, wheat versus livestock, extreme versus moderate, then this chapter stops being a description. It becomes a system you can explain and makes you ready for the exam.